Hi everyone, this is Lola Sheffer. So, I think what I should start off really is kind of to summarize really what this channel is going to be about. I'm probably going to be talking about some trending topics that I think might be relevant for, or suit the direction I'd like us to go in. And pretty much the main direction really is going to be about relationships, love life, what can go wrong, what can go right. But the angle is always, what can we learn from this? Even in entertainment, something happened, nothing, even when we write scripts, you can never recreate what life really throws at us. So what I'd love us to do is, as we're going through either shows or hot topics or trending topics, really be, what happened and what can we learn from this? I would like to stay away from the direction of just looking at people and judging them, because the truth be told, if we were in a similar situation with a spotlight on us, I'd be doubtful that we would come out, like a shining star with similar situations. So I always wanted to be from an angle of what can we learn from this, and always to recognize that the people we speak of are not superhuman. They're humans just like us. And so that's the angle I really want us to go with. So today we're going to be talking about love and marriage Huntsville. This is the title of this episode, I believe, is Blaque in Business. So to begin with, before we start, like the house rules, as you're looking at this video, I'd love you to hit this, like button, drop a comment, and then please subscribe. So let's go into this episode. So of course, it first starts with, it opens up with Melody with her kids. They're, in the studio about to take some pictures. I love the angle, they've got these Afrocentric outfits. She's wearing a headpiece. As a Nigerian, that's what we call gilly. And even somebody helped her tie it to look like that, so making her look regal. And she was saying her purpose was that she needed new pictures to put in her house, that she hadn't really had anything that hadn't had Martell in the pictures, and now she wants to decorate her home looking for the new direction she's going into. And I thought that was really, it was a nice idea. And there was a shot of her without makeup, and to me she looked beautiful, and I was just happy to see her. She seems to be in a decent headspace today. So, you go and you see the kids, they're little doing this, the baby boss is one of them, and they're just kind of going back and forth. It's really cute. Then her friend comes to see her here, Destiny, and they kind of recap what happened last week, where she had the intervention with the Fletchers and how everything went wrong. And yet again, which is what makes me really kind of take a liking to her, to like her even more, is she knows she wants her freedom. She knows he has done her wrong, but she still has some empathy for him. She still understands that, he's lost a lot. And I think she has an incredible sense of self-worth. I don't know if it's what she always had, or it's something that she had to discover as she went through this journey of where she's come to now. But it's just something to be respected. He has really done her wrong in many ways, but notwithstanding, she still has empathy for him. That just really makes it really more likable, in my opinion. So anyway, they kind of talk about it, and then it kind of it fades out, and then in comes, the next scene really is Martell going to see his therapist. His therapist is Dr. Francis. That's the guy he's seen, here and there across some of the other season, where, actually it was a season where he'd actually told Dr. Francis that his other lady was the peasant. It was to Dr. Francis he had told that to. So, opening scene, he goes to see Dr. Francis because he's feeling, that he's, losing control. He's sad, his emotions, he feels like he's in a dark place, or in the sunken place, as he rightfully puts. So he wants to go see if, Dr. Francis can help him kind of figure things out. So then when they start the scene and they start talking, and Dr. Francis says, well, I've been trying to reach you, but you haven't been returning my calls. And then that kind of explains why we haven't seen him much. Because and then Martell's like, well, every time I see you, you're always giving me a hard time. It's funny. But what I love is that Dr. Francis is an older gentleman from the South who doesn't mince his words. He's not mean or nasty, but he's clear and direct, and I think that's beautiful. And that is really what Martell needs, because we know that Martell was raised mostly by his mother. He knows who his father was, but his father wasn't in the picture. So really, has he had a male role model or figure to correct him and put him into his place when needed? Likely not. So he is having a smaller, he knows he needs it, but still has an aversion to it when it comes to him. So he starts talking, well, you know, you always give me a hard time, that's why I haven't really come. Okay, so what does that tell us? You know, Martell definitely has an issue with it. He lacks the ability to, you know, the sense of accountability. Anytime someone brings it to his front, he wants to run away from it. So, you know, he kind of goes into, you know, the consequences of separation. So, you know, in this instance, you know, Martell has gone ahead and continued to have a relationship with this young lady, notwithstanding, even though he was married. And he has continued knowing that, you know, Mel didn't want it. Mel warned him. So everything that she warned actually occurred, but it didn't really dawn on him until she actually carried out what she said, which is when people say, you'll hear people say, when you're in a relationship, don't make threats, don't make promises, don't say anything that you're not going to carry out, because the one time you say, if you do this, I'm going to do this, and you don't do this, then the other party in that relationship is going to lose respect for you and really not respect any boundaries you create. So it looks like Melody had, you know, probably drawn the line, probably as a human had shifted the boundary line a bit, and then he kept going. And so now he's taken by surprise, because now she kept that boundary line fixed and she didn't budge, and then started the divorce proceedings. And now he seems to be surprised that she doesn't want to be a sister wife. So anyway, he's talking about the consequences of, you know, what's going on. He feels separated. He feels, you know, in a dark place. He's had moments of tears. You know, Dr. Francis, you know, kind of looks at him and says, you know, so, you know, tries to ask him, so, you know, what's going on? How did you, he tries to get him to tell him how he got to this place. Another point to show, get him, you know, a sense of accountability, which he can see he lacks. And so they go into this analogy of oranges. And so long and short of this orange analogy is that, you know, he's saying that he didn't get what he wanted. Yet again, the same theme from his wife, Mel, and decided to go outside and get it. And then in that instance, he said his wife was, okay, well, I'll come back home, I'll take care of you, blah, blah, blah. This is his version of the events. And then he comes back home and ignores what's the oranges on the outside, is how he puts it. But then now that he's home, he's still missing the oranges on the outside. You know, when I hear this analogy and him going back and forth about, yes, you're with your wife, but you still miss what's on the outside, then you can definitely see that he's confused. Because even though now he's gotten what he wants, Mel has said, you're free to go, bye. He seems to be falling apart. So maybe you didn't want the oranges on the outside. I don't know. I don't think he knows either. He probably had no business there, but I love the example that Dr. Francis brought out. He asked him, he said, you know what? You were saying that, you know, your wife didn't give you something, and you decide to find an alternative route to get what you wanted. Can you admit that maybe you could have got what you wanted another way? Silence. And he's simply asking him, have you thought that maybe, you know, cheating on your wife may not have been the correct or appropriate way to do this? No response. And so they go in and they continue to talk about the relationship, and then so he kind of gets him up to date. He's asking, okay, so update me now. So where are you with these oranges? And he's talking about, I guess he lets him know that it's still going on with the person on the outside. And then he goes on to ask him, so, you know, if this lady gets pregnant, what will you do next? Martell being Martell, he won't answer the question. He's talking about, yeah, I'm 38, I'm this, I'm that, I take care of my responsibilities, blah, 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 blah. Dr. Francis, he has a great BS meter. He's like, bruh, you're acting like a politician. You might want to go to DC. You didn't answer my question. I'm asking you, what would you do if she got pregnant? And finally, Martell mumbles, like, you know, she's pregnant already. And then the guy smiles. But, you know, the beauty of that is, and that's what I would like all of us to adopt. We all can't be therapists, but maybe if we can be a little more considerate sometimes in our positions, we can help each other. Notwithstanding that Dr. Francis disagrees with how Martell might have gone about things, he stops and says, you know what, we are not our actions. So even though or rather we should separate our actions from who we are. So yes, you've done this thing, but that doesn't mean you're that thing. Acknowledge acknowledge you've done it, and then move on and decide, who do I want to be in this scenario? Give yourself room for improvement. I love how he just kind of put it out for him. Martell, I'm not sure how he responded. I don't even know if he heard what, you know, Dr. Francis was trying to give him. Like, because when we make mistakes and we're human, we're not perfect. That's what happens. But now what we need to do is, who do we want to be? Who are we going to be? Who do we see ourselves being in the future? And then how far away are we from that? And then find your way back to it instead of constantly judging yourself as to what you've done. I know I've done a video in the past about forgiveness. Like, there's a point where you have to forgive yourself and then move on and really acknowledge that what you did is not who you are, and separate yourself from that and really decide to do differently. Now, if you constantly do it, then you really won't be able to get that exercise or get the meaning of the exercise. But if you can really acknowledge it and say, this is what I did, but I want to be this, and then turn and be this, that would work. So we go on to the next scene where, for the first time on the show, the presence of this other lady, who will now mention, her name is Ariane, I think that's how it's pronounced. I mean, it wasn't like a video, but at least it was a phone call. So he's having a, Martell is talking to Ariane on the phone, and they're speaking, and he's kind of, recapping what happened at the appointment with Dr. Francis. And this is the first time she has been acknowledged by the show that she exists. I guess she's caused, so her presence has caused so much havoc, they might as well acknowledge that this person really exists. So he goes talking. But then, this scene makes me kind of really see, have another look into who Martell is. He has this, it's this sense of self-sabotage, because even though it appears to me that he has blown up his life over someone he said was a mere peasant, actually impregnated the peasant, blown up his life, blown up what he knows that he appreciates, he still has some feelings of doubt or confusion with this person he blew up his life for. Because they have this conversation, they're talking about, the pregnancy, and he makes a statement, something about, if the baby is mine, I'll take care of it. And of course, Ariane, she's like, roll that back. You say if? And so they have the exchange back and forth, but he's already put that there. Now, if he believes it or not, I don't know, but it really tells you as to where his mind is at. This guy, you are not even, you have this sense of this woman you blew up your life for, but you still blew up your life, but you don't trust her. And then, they kind of close out, they go back and forth, DNA test, blah. Anyway, it kind of closes out, and he always ends his statements with, I always take care of my children. And I guess this really boils back down to his childhood. His father didn't pay attention to him, his father didn't take care of him, his father really wasn't present in his life. So he wants to make sure that doesn't continue with his generation. Admirable, but he still has a lot of problems he needs to work on. But he always insists that that's his saving grace. That's his Superman powers. He takes care of his kids. All right, so, but there are things wrong with you. Okay, so let's continue. So at the end of the conversation, even though Martell has told this lady that, he's the one who's been stepping out, mind you. He's the cheat. He's the dishonest one. But he's now superimposing or reflecting onto her that, maybe she might have slept with someone else and said he's the father. But notwithstanding, at the end of the conversation, they say something about, yeah, take care of mine. And she's like, well, yeah, I believe you. You've always been good to me. We need to be better as females. A piece of a man is not better than, the crumbs. She's accepting crumbs of a man. That doesn't replace you having your own. And I think that's probably why their relationship has existed this long, is because he'll say this nonsense and she'll literally just kind of brush it under the carpet and just be satisfied to have a piece of a man as opposed to her own. And so they just kind of end that scene. And of course, during that scene was in his car. He's driving to the Blaque, the cigar bar, their soft opening. So he gets there, meets up with, Tisha and, Marceau, and they get talking, just small talk. So, and Martell looking nice, handsome, and all black. Just like I said last week, he's just a waste of a handsome man, because there's nothing else. This is it. This is the best he has to offer. So he might as well just put himself in a museum. Everything else he's no good for at this point. Anyway, he's no good to anyone right now. So anyway, I guess he has some kind of self-reflection, a moment right there at the opening while they're having small talk. Maybe he's, having some flashbacks of how the good times were with his friends, and he decides to apologize for, being very aggressive with Miss Wanda, Tisha's mom, a few episodes back. Tisha's really excited. Oh, great. Oh, you're sorry. And so, when they have the little confessionals, they have the little confessionals, and then, Marceau says, you know what, I hear him, but the way he sees it, he don't really, apology is really not appreciated. More or less change behavior is what he'd prefer. So it's like, don't apologize all the time, just change your behavior and let me see. So that in a nutshell, he's saying the best apology is changed behavior. And I like that. You know, Tisha's still kind of fawning over, oh, he said sorry. So it's like, nah, G, you know, show me where you are. Yeah, show me what you're really about. Don't give me the words. And like, you know, I'm with that. I'm really, this season, I'm really liking the side of Marceau that we're seeing or we're being shown. He's a smart guy. So anyway, they continue talking. The Fletchers come in, and the Fletchers, you know, looking nice. And I love that Miss Nell, she turns to, you know, Martell and said, Martell, you know what, you were really giving Mel a hard time. And he's still playing back and forth. No, me? Then, you know, did you see what she did? She did something, blah, 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 blah. Miss Nell, she's trying to show him she gangster. She said, look, if that was me, I would have thrown the whole table. Like, boom. That's my girl right there. You know, I like that. But, you know, so she's not pretending that she was disappointed in his prior behavior. So she lets him know how she felt and keeps it moving, gives him a hug, and they keep going. And then, you know, they throw into the next scene where, you know, Mel is on her way there. But this time she comes with Marcus as backup, like, you know, she rolling like too deep. She's not coming alone. She doesn't want to be alone. She doesn't know what she's gonna, you know, confront or see. And she knows that Martell will be there. So she figures, you know what, let me have my brother with me. And this will really kind of, you know, make things, neutralize any kind of mess that might happen. So great. So she comes in, says hi to everyone. And then, you know, sometime after that, you know, Tisha comes over to her. And Tisha's like, you know, Mel, could you come for a second? I just want to have some words with you. So she goes ahead to apologize, you know, for, you know, saying BS as opposed to actually being open to, you know, mend fences with her. And, you know, Mel being the woman she is, she's like, tell me, you know, when I saw you last, this was a completely different attitude. Why the change of heart? You know how people say, keep that same energy? She's thinking like, why didn't you keep that same energy, son? But, so she's like, so what's the change of heart here? And, you know, of course, you know, our girl Tisha, you know, she's rolling everything like that. She's rolling it back. And so she's like, yeah, I just thought about it. And, you know, I really want us to hear, whatever she says, I'm not buying it. And neither was Mel. Because remember, you know, last week, you know, Marceau had come to tell her that, you know, I want you guys to mend fences. And she knows her boy Marceau. She knows that he has, I don't want to say he has the upper hand, but she knows that he's able to, you know, press some of, you know, Tisha's buttons to get her to do what he needs to be done. So she's looking at her like, I already know he made you do this, but cool, let's be friends. I don't want any beef anyway. I didn't want beef to begin with. So they kind of settle that. And then, you know, they throw some scenes. They throw Jalen in the scene. Jalen looking like he probably know what he's doing. Okay, whoop, I hope so. He looking sharp in his, you know, his outfit. They throw a scene where, you know, it's a cigar bar. So they bring out the cigars, you know, that scene kind of, see, they had a scene where I see Destiny with her cigar, you know. Destiny's growing on me because she came last season. I'm like, what she wants? She trying to, like, was she trying to blow up? Because she's just too much. But now I think, which kind of shows you about, you know, these reality shows, depending on what they show you, is what you could actually kind of take a liking to or not like. So they've kind of fine-tuned. They really wanted to push her down our throats, but they fine-tuned their approach with her. So I'm okay with it. You know, I saw her with, I'm like, oh, you know, something sexy about a woman with a cigar. That's nice. All right, go ahead, sis. You know, have some fun. So anyway, they have their moment where they want to, you know, have an opening of something. They want to display something they had covered up. And it was a picture when they finally, you know, pulled down the curtain. It's a picture of the boys, the next generation of Scots. But, you know, the Scots do have girls. That was only boys in the picture. 4 boys from 3 of the siblings. That's, you know, Marceau, Maurice, and then they have a sister who's not really on the show. So they kind of do that. Everyone, you know, of course, the ladies you know, in the crowd are like, we're the girls. The girls should be in this picture. Like everyone's like, well, no, you know. Maurice is, Marceau is a little, you know, sexist. Is how they just kind of put it, so they're not surprised by it. But anyway, it was a nice gesture, but I really do get, you know, if I was there, if I was one of the mothers, like, I would be thinking, why isn't my daughter good enough to be in that picture? And I hope that's something they might address on the reunion, because that's in 2021, why do you not think that a woman could also carry the future of the family name? So that should be a question that they should ask. So moving on. But notwithstanding, I have to say that even though, when we think about Marceau, he's misogynistic, we can see that with how he would like his relationship with his wife to be, how he is, certain ways, how he does this, how he does that. But I have to say that what you can't take away from him, he's a very smart man, very calculating, has a way about him, but sometimes he really tends to have a sense of fairness. Let's say it might be self-serving, but he's checking the boxes. Let me liken it to the villain that you love to hate, because there's things you can like about him, but you can still think that this dude's a villain. Nice. And then of course, how in these Marvel movies, you've got the villain and you've got the good guy, or the good guy, the heroine at this point now is Mel. And so you always see them have this exchange where it's like, yeah, I see what game you're playing, but that's okay. As long as you don't cross me, we're straight. That's what it seems like. But yeah, it's good to see. It's good to see this side of him, because it would seem in prior seasons and other seasons, he wasn't very endearing. But this season, he's, because there's something to be admired about someone who's intelligent. They may not have all the qualities you admire, but I can't hate on his intelligence. He's definitely a smart man. So yeah. So anyway, going on, halfway through, Marcus, I'm not sure who pulls who. It was Martell. Anyway, I think Marcus comes to Martell and said, let's have a conversation. Come over here, let's talk. And so he's just trying to straighten out, what he might have heard Martell say about, him, the children being around his brother-in-law and his brother-in-law's husband, because Marcus is gay and married to a man. And it seems like he didn't appear to have a problem with this prior to him and Mel having real problems. So why is he having a problem with it now? I don't know, maybe he had a problem, he didn't want to speak up. So anyway, he goes on to say, I don't have a problem with you, but I just don't want my children's foundation to be a husband and husband when it should be husband and wife. And Marcus, I love, because sometimes I feel like people try to shame you to quiet you down. And Marcus is looking like, you can't make me ashamed. I'm not ashamed. He's like, well, they're admirable things your children should see me, that you want them to see me. One, I've been a teacher for 25 years. I'm a preacher, and I have a solid relationship. Boom. How you like me now? It's like, so, what? There's something that, who I love to watch all the time. Funky Deneva, he always says, never let a bee spray you with your own tea. So he's like, yeah, dun, 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 dun. Boxes checked, what now? So, of course, Martell is like scrambling back, like, yeah. So at that point, Mel comes up and she's like, not amused with the conversation once she hears what's going on. And she's like, what are you talking about? Their foundation is us. And well, then, I don't want them to see. So I said, well, you're worried about poor examples. You haven't really been setting a good example, and they kind of go into it. And then Marcus was like, yo, this is my cue. And he heads on out. And so they have this conversation, another conversation. She sits down, and it seems so he always tends to start the conversation real aggressive, rude, almost trying to get I guess a response out of her, a negative response, I guess, to him, because you see he does this all the time. Maybe to him it makes him feel like he still has control of her. So he don't care what kind of response. If he can get a response out of her, he feels good about it. So he says some real stupid things, and it just makes me, wonder, is he trying to save face, or is he trying to save his marriage? Because he's not that stupid, but his actions definitely should tell you, sir, you really look like you're trying to, mash your marriage into the ground. But, as he keeps going on, then he kind of stops. His eyes change. And I think it's almost like he's in a mood switch. It dawns on him. So he seems to run away from the truth. And then for a second, or for maybe a minute or two, the truth kind of aligns with what he's feeling at that point in time. And he realizes what's really going on. He's losing the woman he loves. And he tells her that. He's like, I love you. I don't know what happened. And of course, then you see Mel had been, poised. And then you see her mouth kind of tremble. And then in tears. And that makes me respect her even more, because it's easy to leave someone you don't have feelings for that disrespects you. But it's so much harder to leave someone you still love, but you have said that, you know, you've drawn boundaries and you've tried to show them how to treat you and they have refused. It's even harder to leave in that situation. So there's no doubt that she still has feelings for this man, but she has just decided within herself that she will no longer accept that level of disrespect. And that's admirable, because that's not easy to do. It's not easy to do at all with 4 children and you still love the person. But she's like, no, this behavior, this treatment is unacceptable. And she said, when he said, oh, I love you, Mel, she's like, well, you know what? You didn't value me. You didn't value the marriage. You didn't value the relationship we had. You didn't value what we built, because they started as a young couple, what we built up. You didn't value any of that. Once again, it comes back down. He recklessly blew his life up for stuff I won't see on a video. Blew his life up for that, and now he's left with just crumbs of what he used to have. And for moments where he suddenly, it dawns on him, he's quiet. But then quickly, in order to save face or not feel that sadness or not acknowledge he's in the sunken place, he becomes rude again. So you'll see the brief moments of clarity, it's only for a short period of time before he flips back and starts getting rude. And so he's talking about, once again, what she did. He has never consistently stood in his place saying, you know what, I did wrong, and been accountable for his poor behavior and his poor actions. Because the truth is, if he did that, that might have taken him on another path to healing, and they may not have been in this place they are today. So he flips the switch again and back to the asshole Martell and doing what he does, and she's like, you know what? And that's when she makes it clear. We know in real life, they're now officially divorced now. But at that point, she's like, get your lawyer. You don't have one, get one, sign the paperwork. I said, I'm done. Once you did these things to me and I told you to stop doing them and I gave you a timeline, you didn't follow this timeline. You were reckless. And I think worst of all, she's like, once I considered the other lady the enemy, you continue to sleep with the enemy. Well, not so, she still loves him, but she stood by what she said. And I have nothing but respect for her, because I know that's not easy. And so pretty much the scene, he walks off, he has to have, the last moment. He has to have his diva movement, or Devo movement, whatever you want to call it. And then, the girls kind of trickle in, Destiny comes first, and then the other ladies come, and they're just kind of, trying to make her feel better. And it just goes to show you that this is as real as it gets. Even if they're making this up, it's as real as it gets, because this really happens. This happens in real life. I can't really say how much production was involved in all of this, but when you see them in their scenes, you can see their real emotions there. And so this is why I really wanted to review the show. And so I love us to kind of look at that, females out there, even males. If there's anyone not treating you the way you should be treated, because we give people the permission to treat us the way we want them to. If they treat us poorly, if we don't check them, they will continue. So she had most likely been moving her boundaries for a while, and so he got comfortable. So I don't know if it's the reality show that made her decide that, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. And then she just said enough, drew that line in the sand and kept it there. So he seemed surprised that, you know what, she's not shifting, she's not moving. He's playing chicken with her. And then he crashes, and look at him now. He's in the sunken place. So yeah, just there at the end of this, it's just, I have a lot of respect for, for the action she's done. And I'd love this to be an example for other females who feel like I'm not enough. Because you find a lot of people who are in relationships they don't want to be in for different reasons. It's finances. Is it this? Am I not enough? Will somebody want me? I've got 100 kids. I've got a lot of kids. She didn't listen to the noise anymore. Had it, built on her self-worth and knows that she's a catch, and she says it. But I don't think all that strength was something that was there. She had to build on it, because it took a minute. He was doing this for 5 years. So clearly she took a second to build herself, but then she stood up and said, enough's enough. And here we are. And nobody wants to celebrate a divorce, but for me, it's a victory in that she was treated in such a way that was so disrespectful that affected her self-confidence, affected everything really. But look at her now. She believes in herself. She's doing things that she hadn't, planned to do before she's released a single. She's done all these things. So anyway, people, that's really the end of the review for now. So, I don't think I guess their little get back to is next. I think they're doing another episode next week, so I don't know if that's going to be a reviewable episode. But in the meantime, I'll see what happens. But in the meantime, guys, don't forget, please like this video. Hit the like right now. Click. Second, you can write a comment, and please subscribe. Thank you. Lola out.